Today, Sancta Familia Media are here at Lindores Abbey
for a spiritual pilgrimage with a difference. Lindores Abbey, situated on the banks of the Tay, just behind me, was founded here in 1191 as a daughter house for the Abbey of Kelso. The ruins here were once home to a thriving monastic community of Tironensian monks.
In pre-Reformation times here, the Tironensian monks cultivated the landscape here. Their horticultural prowess can still be seen to this day in the local town of Newborough, where the orchards still produce delicious fruit.
However, one of the more famous fruits of this distillery is something slightly stronger than apple juice. It's the Aqua Vitae Whisky Baja, known to you and I as whisky.
Lindores Abbey is the birthplace of Scottish whisky. The earliest historical record of whisky distillation comes from the Exchequer Rolls of 1494, which attests that on the 1st of June 1495, Brother John Corr of the Abbey was commissioned by King James IV to produce 8 bowls of malt, roughly 580 litres of the water of life.
Over the course of its life, Lindores Abbey and the church here, dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary and St Andrew, was frequently visited by a variety of royals, including kings such as John Balliol, David II, James III and King Edward I of England, also including William Wallace, who visited here.
Sadly, with the arrival of the Reformation and the preaching of John Knox at Perth in the year 1559, the abbey was sacked and its stonework was quarried.
However, 500 years on what lies the ruins of this once thriving monastic abbey, the waters of life are flowing once again, with the opening of Lindores Abbey Distillery.
I've lived here all my life. My family have owned the Abbey for about 105 years, and so we always knew some of the history. We knew about William Wallace, we knew it's very significant property, but we had no idea about the whisky link. So when I found that out, I thought, well, it was like a light bulb moment, because I'm on record for more than 20 years saying I'd really like to try and preserve the Abbey and bring people to the area. So whilst it's only a 2-line entry and a tax record of 1494, that was the ticket, if you like. If I could make that into a bigger story, eventually build a distillery, well, that was my way of preserving the ancient Abbey of Lindores.
Whisky is always done with 3 ingredients, so that's your water, your yeast and your malt. So here at Lindores, our water comes from a borehole that's sunk almost 270 feet deep. The malt is all Fife barley, so it's Fife barley that's went down south and then been converted into malt. And the yeast is just your standard local distiller's yeast.
What we're doing is we've set up a thing called the Preservation Society, and nearly all new distilleries have a membership scheme of one way or another, and they're all different and they're all worthwhile. Our one, though, is a Preservation Society, and there's a very real reason for it, that funds raised by the Society will go to preserving what's left of the Abbey. We're always very clear that we can never rebuild it. Ever since John Knox visited, it then became a quarry, it's dissolved, but the Preservation Society can help keep it tidy, keep it safe for the visitors we're going to have over the next 20 years. And if I can, on my watch, preserve it for another 500 years, well, I'll have done something right.
This is part of the legacy from Dr. Jim Swan, who was the original whisky consultant here. Unfortunately, Jim died in February, so we've inherited his design for what he was looking for as a spirit. So we're aiming for a light and fruity character of spirit. So the boil, the long neck, the line arms will all help to get us that character of whisky. You know, the smaller 3,500 litre stills, again, lots of copper contact, helping to get that lighter character that we're looking for. And adding that with the long fermentations that I talked about earlier, we get the fruity character coming in there as a character. Ideally, it would be great if we had a fantastic spirit within the 3 years and 1 day, but Drew, the managing director, he's committed to making sure the spirit, the whisky, will not go on sale until it's ready. It's the worst thing we could do, is release a spirit that's just not worthy of the name Lindores.
We don't just focus on Friar John Core and one entry in the Exchequer roll. We really concentrate on what the Tironensians brought to this wee part of Fife. And if they were perhaps a different order, we may not be standing here. They went out into the fields and they were great agriculturalists, and there was 30 acres of fruit here, of orchards, which we're going to start re-establishing. We've got 600 fruit trees coming quite soon. So we want to kind of spread the word, if you like, in the area that the Tironensians brought a great deal here. They're no longer in evidence, but by doing this, I suppose we're paying respect to Friar John Core, but more widely to the Tironensians as a whole, as an order.
How could we come to a distillery without having a wee nip to ourselves? So, in honour of John Core and the Tironensian monks, we raise a glass to the past and to the future of Lindores Abbey Distillery. Slange.